Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of Mo Money, Mo Houses. I'm your host, Jessica Morehouse, and today I'm very excited to interview my next guest. I've known this wonderful woman for a number of years, and you may know her as Sarah from Suburban Finance, a personal finance blog. She used to also run another blog. I don't know if any of you know it. It's called When Life Gives You Lemons, Add Vodka. It used to be a huge favorite of mine back in the day, but now she's kind of moved on, and she has this new awesome website called Unsettle.org. And I'm going to talk to her about that and her kind of new role as a business coach as well. And we're also going to be talking about how to make money online. So thank you, Sarah, for joining me on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So let's kind of start from the beginning. I've known you for several years, which is awesome to see kind of where you started from and to where you are now. Because I met you back when I think you maybe just finished school. And then you got your first job. I think that was like right when I met you. And you had the blog, When Life Gives You Lemons, Add Vodka, which is an awesome name. And yeah, I just remember you and Jeremy from Modest Money and Kevin from Liquid Independence. And was it? Maybe that was it. The couple from the Outlier model.
Yeah.
We all met in Vancouver, and it was super scary because we just all like coordinated over email. We're like, let's all meet. And we're like, oh, I hope we don't get murdered by one of these people because we don't actually know who we are. But anyways, long story short, we met and we liked each other, and we've been following each other ever since. Beautiful relationship.
It's a story.
So when you no longer have the blog Add Vodka, you actually ended up so you ended up selling it, which is pretty cool. That FYI, if you ever start a blog and you make it really popular, you can sell it for money. Pretty cool.
Oh, it was not really popular.
Well, it was popular in my mind.
It was just an OG. It'd been around for forever.
When I met you, you were like you worked for a company and you're an employee and you're into that. And now you've kind of made a huge life transition recently. I guess in the new year you made that. Do you want to go from the beginning about like when you started your blog and to how that kind of helped you lead to where you are today as like a solopreneur?
Absolutely. So I started Add Vodka in 2010. So that was August.
Oh, that's well
so yeah, that's forever ago in the internet. So yeah, I started in 2010, and I really started because I was bored. I just moved to the Lower Mainland, and we didn't have that many friends yet. I hadn't started school yet. So I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? So I started a blog. And I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing. But I had always had this sort of theory that people should only really, I hate this term, but follow their passions and do what they love on the side. So I was like, okay, just put in your time, retire at 55 or 65, get a job with a pension, and then bide your time until you can retire. And doing what you love really should just be a hobby. And that was just, I don't know where that came from.
Well, I think lots of people have that idea, honestly. So it's probably just came from everybody.
Yeah, society for sure.
Yeah.
I think we get this like idea that we can't get paid to do what we love because that just sounds too good to be true, maybe. And that was just like the assumption that I operated under for years. And then I realized, I was blogging for forever, and I sat down, and I was anonymous, so I hadn't told my family and friends about my blog.
That's right. I forgot that you were anonymous. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I was anonymous up until last fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, it was loosey-goosey, like everyone everyone that I met knew who I was and everything like that, but my mom discovered my blog. So she just found out about it.
Like not from you?
Not from me.
Google? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then a coworker found out about my blog, put the two and two together. His wife had been reading for years.
Wow.
Yeah. That was in the new year, actually, I think, or late December. And I was like, okay, well, this is silly. Why am I even anonymous? This is ridiculous. Like, and I love writing, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So like, let's just put it out there. So, when I was kind of coming out to my friends and family and saying, hey, this is what I do, I was having a conversation with a friend one day, and we were talking about work, and I was talking about my career in HR, and, I was just kind of chomping at the bit to do something different, and I'd kind of been maxed out with the challenges that my current job was giving me. And then I started talking about my blog, and we were just kind of talking everything career, and she looked at me and she's like, why are you pursuing a career in HR when clearly you absolutely love blogging and writing and like creating communities. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, well, that doesn't pay the bill. She was like, you just told me it does. Like, okay.
Like, oh, wait.
But like, I don't know if it's sustainable. And back then, like I wasn't, I was advertising mainly, and that's how I was earning money. So that's not really sustainable. But I started looking into, okay, well, if I'm not advertising, can you really make a career out of blogging and really doing what you love? And turns out you can. And I was just kind of like, and I, started an Etsy store, and I was just kind of creatively at my peak. And I realized that, everything that I was learning, a lot of people didn't know about. So I started Unsettle based on helping people really kind of find their way in their careers and doing what they love. Because I just think it's so sad that people hate their jobs.
Yeah, it's
tragic.
the worst feeling. I've been there. I'm sure most people listening right now are probably listening to this podcast because they hate their job and they just need something to preoccupy their time. But yeah, it's a terrible feeling because, you look at how many years you have to work, and if you're going to, retire at 65, that's most of your life working something that you hate. I'm definitely the believer. It's like, yeah, I hate the term follow your passion, but life's too short to do something you hate, right?
So true. You spend so much time at work.
Yeah.
So 8 hours a day. If you're lucky. So most people spend like 10 hours a day, and then they spend an hour each way commuting, or half an hour each way, whatever way you cut it. You're spending so much time thinking about work, getting ready for work, sleeping so that you can go to work with a fresh mind. Like your life revolves around your work.
It really does.
Why not make it revolve around work that you love so that the lines kind of blur between work and life? So I kind of just totally swapped my thoughts around that when I kind of realized that, you really can make money doing what you love. And for me, that was writing, and now podcasting, and just community building in general, and being able to influence
and being like
people.
An online entrepreneur. And I think that's one of the things that I think is super cool because, for my day job, I work in digital marketing, and it's, I think, something that people don't really know, or they're kind of afraid of. They're like, oh, is that sustainable, making money online? Actually, yeah, it is. You just have to be smart about it and do your research. And that's kind of part of, I guess, what your whole Unsettle is about, is just like, there's so many different ways you can do it. You don't have to just do one way, like make a blog and have advertising. You can do this, this, and this.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started unsettle.org, and that would be like my new site, the one that I'm teaching people. It's like my business.
When did that launch?
It launched on January 5th.
January 5th.
Yeah. So fairly recently. Yeah. So it's like, just, that you've hit your sweet spot in anything that you're doing, whether it's writing or anything creative or even your career, when your growth just happens. Like I have been working my butt off, but I was working my butt off with everything that I've done. Like I'm a hustler. Yeah. So like I've been working probably just as much with Unsettle as I did with my previous blogs or whatever. And it's just exploded like 10 times the growth. My first day doubled my best day in traffic on my blog that I had for 4 years or 5 years.
Why do you think that is? Is just you kind of figured out the niche that was right for you, or the right, or
I think it's something to do with that. So it's a topic that I'm clearly very passionate about, interested in. Also, it's something that I kind of fully embraced. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So I'm going to put all of my energy and effort toward that. So I really put a lot of research into, building buzz around the brand before I even launched, and building a following before I even launched, and everything like that. So that, and then, just, I think that when you're writing like a blog post, for instance, if you're not convinced on the topic yourself, or if you're not enthusiastic about the topic yourself, how can you expect your readers to be? Yeah. Right. So for me, with personal finance, like I love money. I love my own money. So.
I love money too.
Isn't it great? I just love money. But like I love my own money. Yeah. And I'm not super interested in helping other people get on top of theirs. Like I like to talk about, my own money, like earning more or whatever.
Yeah, you're more interested in the whole, like, how can I make more than how can I create a budget spreadsheet?
Exactly. Yeah. So teaching people, 5 ways you can save money on groceries, or even like a really good in-depth post about, whatever it is financially. It was just like, it wasn't my jam. So, and it just like became evident as the day I launched Unsettle. Yeah. Right. So, different strokes for different folks, I guess. But,
yeah, totally. Very cool. So did you find, I guess what I'm really curious is, it's awesome that you took that big leap and you quit your full-time job to start this online business and work for yourself. Like, what was your kind of game plan beforehand? Like, did you prepare several months in advance, or like, that just seems like a crazy idea to me. So like, how did you start? What was your kind of strategy beforehand?
It is crazy. It's crazy to me, Jess. Like, I don't even
like, what am I doing right now?
Totally.
It's working out. It's working out.
I didn't even, when I started Unsettle, I did not want to quit my day job. Like, I quit my full-time day job back in July so that I could take a contract, give myself a raise, give myself like a better position. And I really loved where I worked. Mm-hmm. Like, I loved it. I loved the team that I was working with. I loved the work that I was working on. So I do think that you can definitely, quotation, unquotation, follow your passion within a day job. I think that that's completely possible. And I loved where I worked. But I wanted to take a trip. So I love to travel as well. And I kind of got bit by the travel bug. Mm-hmm. And so I went to Nepal on my honeymoon with my husband. Mm-hmm. And then we went to Bali, and then I got back and I was like, no, you know what? I want to travel again. Like, I can't just stay here and do 3 weeks of travel a year whenever my employer says I'm allowed to go.
Exactly.
It's probably going to be in the summer, and I hate traveling in the summer because it's hot and sweaty and like there's mosquitoes or whatever bugs.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
A lot more freedom.
Totally. So, and I'm a control freak. So I like to be able to control, when I'm off and on or whatever. And my employer was super flexible back then because it was a contract. So I was able to say, hey, I want to like take a break from a contract for these 4 weeks when I went to Nepal or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they just couldn't swing the whole 7 weeks I actually didn't know how long I was going to be gone for. I booked a one-way ticket to Portugal with a fellow blogger, Marissa from 36months.com. Mm-hmm. So we did that. And so I approached my employer and I was like, hey, so they wanted to extend my contract. And this was in the same meeting when they were like handing me a piece of paper saying, we want to extend your contract.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going on this trip and I would love if I could come back to my job because, I mean, in HR, you're doing really similar things to what I'm doing with Unsettle. It's helping people with their career.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it was very in line with what I'm doing. And I had so much flexibility there and I loved the job. But she said, we really can't hold off on hiring another contractor for we don't even know how long. Right. So yeah, it made the decision for me.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of simple. You're like, well, it's just not meant to be then. I guess I'm going to do this, my own business.
Going full in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's the story behind why I quit, when I quit. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was gone in Europe for 6 weeks. And then I had to come back for a family emergency kind of unexpectedly. But so now I'm full-time entrepreneur.
Ooh. So one of the things I remember last time I was in Vancouver and we hung out, you told me about kind of one of your ventures because you talk a lot about the different things you can kind of do to, start your own online business and everything. And one of the things like you mentioned before, was that Etsy store, which I find super fascinating because it seems like something you sort of fell into it. So how did that kind of start? Did you have that for a while, the Etsy store, or was it that something that happened with the wedding you had?
Yeah, you know what? People are fascinated by the Etsy store.
I am. I'm just like, how? Because honestly, I remember right after we met, I'm like, Josh, I think I'm gonna make some coasters, and I think I'm gonna sell them on Etsy. And he's like, what? Do you know how to make coasters? I'm like, I don't know how to make coasters, but I think I should do that. I don't know. I just got really pumped about Etsy.
Did you?
No. I know. I have a really great idea for coasters.
So do it. Make one. That's all you gotta do.
I know. We should talk later.
Yeah, for sure.
Get some tips on how to do this because I'm like, I kind of just want to see if I could do it.
You should. So the whole Etsy story is that I had a very DIY wedding back in July. And it was probably May or June, and I'm obsessed with popcorn. So if any of my listeners or readers are listening to this in the future, just know that send me some popcorn. I'm obsessed with popcorn. Like, you will be in my good books. It's a food source. I actually think I wrote an article on Advoca at one point that was literally called "How Money is Like Popcorn."
I love it.
It was kind of dry, Anyway, so I'm obsessed with popcorn, and I wanted to have a popcorn bar at my wedding. So we hired. We hired a popcorn machine. like one of those vintage ones.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, right? And I was like, okay, well, how can I make this like more DIY and like custom? And then I was like, well, why not print on paper bags with like something kind of like branded our wedding or whatever?
Yeah, kind of like what people do with like wine bottles. They put their own label on them, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I just like, I'm a total amateur designer, but I made a very simple design in Photoshop and then, or Illustrator or whatever it was. And then I printed off a copy at work just because I wanted to take a picture and send it to my mom and ask her, like kind of crowdsource her opinion on which of the two bags were the best. So I sent her a picture, I took a picture, and then I went to the gym and I'm on the treadmill and I'm thinking like, hey, I've got this picture and I have my phone and I know there's an Etsy sellers app. So like, why not just try to list it and see if there's any buyers? So I'm literally on the treadmill. I think at this point it was like 5 a.m. I don't even know why.
Why?
I just,
it's too early.
Just went for the dress, girl.
All right.
So 5 a.m. on the treadmill, phone in hand, and I'm like, I've got this iPhone photo. I'm just going to list it. So I listed it, and probably 5 days later, I got 3 orders in one day.
Oh my God.
So I had made, after 3 months, and one of those months we were on vacation because we were on our not honeymoon, but our wedding vacation. So we put the shop on vacation too. So it was really 2 months of active shop. We had made $5,000 and it's really like cost 30 cents to list something on Etsy.
Crazy.
Yeah. And it was amazing. So, and this is like a brand new shop. So we are doing way better even now because we have reviews and everything like that and more products. And this was with an iPhone photo. So, and I didn't change the photo or anything like that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So it was like one bag. Just printed it off.
That was easy.
Took pictures. It was easy. Yeah, I need that Staples button that says that was easy.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of like blew up and we still have the shop now. My husband prints everything and I just like change the designs because we just have like, basic designs that we put their names in and stuff. Like it's such a fun side hustle.
And it doesn't take too much of your time. Like it seems pretty low maintenance.
Very low maintenance. Yeah. Because we have like the basic designs. We don't really have to do much. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, hey, will you do this special order for me? And I usually say no. Because I'm like, no, like this isn't my full-time job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just something that I like to do on the side. It's really fun and earns us some extra money. And like, even though there's a lot of bridezillas, I've never worked with one. So it's like so much fun. Everyone's so happy. They're like, I'm getting married.
Honestly, and it's like, I remember when I was planning my wedding, I was just I would go on Etsy like a maniac, just trying, because I'd be like, I just need a freaking chalkboard thing. I cannot find it. And so I just go on Etsy and it's crazy. Like there's so many times where I'm like, I'm about to spend like $150 on some stupid chalkboard thing. But brides, they will pay the money. Like that's such a great, I don't know, like props for you. That is like such a great idea. Like,
and it wasn't even like well thought out or anything. But
it's like you found a need.
Yeah, you find a need, you fill it. And I think it also goes to say that, and this is something that I say to my community all the time, is just do it. Like, don't think too much about it. The analysis paralysis is a real thing, and it will like set in and, grab you by the feet and take you down. So don't overthink it. Just do it. Take a risk. It costs 30 cents to list something on Etsy. So if you want to take that route, it takes 5 minutes to set up a blog. So if you want to just like start writing, I mean, I have this like crazy long launch series. I think I've written 10,000 words on it by now.
Oh, wow.
About how to like launch a blog on the right foot if you're sure about it. But if you're not sure that that's the right path for you, then just do it.
Exactly. And see if it is. Because you'll never know unless you try.
Yeah. And I always say you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. And that applies to side hustles too.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you still have the Etsy thing and you've got your Unsettle, which is a blog with resources, and you also sell, like, you've got products on there, sort of. Is that right? Or just resources, or you will. That's something in the future. Yeah, so I'm making a full-time living from Unsettle, and I think we're only 5 months in, so that's really cool. But I do it mainly from affiliate marketing. So part of unsettling is you have to have a website. Like, I think the entire world is going in a direction where if you don't have an audience, specifically an online audience, because I mean, nothing is not online. Yeah, exactly. But, exactly. Yeah. But if you don't have an audience, then you're going to be, like just flat broke, irrelevant, just, pointless. So you need an audience, and to have an audience, you probably need a website. So part of like the Unsettled roadmap is building your thing, and part of building it is, finding website hosting and things like that. So I make quite a bit of income from affiliate marketing, from hosting and things like that, email service providers,
because I just say, you know, like, this is what I use. And I have a couple of tutorials showing people how that they can set up their blogs and start, I don't know if it's not a blog, whatever, they can set up their websites. So I make quite a bit of my income from that. And then I also am a coach. So I help people do pretty much everything that I'm talking about right now.
Like a business consultant or
sort of, except for I don't do it for people. Like, I will help people find the idea that's right for them, but it's all inside them. Like, I can't tell you what you're good at. You need to discover it yourself. So I help support you through that process. And we go through, you know, I think everyone should have a coach. And I think it's really powerful to, I mean, you know that saying, the shoemaker's son runs barefoot?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a saying.
But I believe that's a saying. Sure it is.
It sounds like a saying. So I think it's true. Like, my husband's a carpenter and our house is constantly in a state of construction. Like, nothing ever gets done. So people are like that with themselves. Like, we have a really hard time seeing gaps in ourselves. So coaches really just help you see where you need to go. So, like, you can say, and lots of the times I'm like coaching my clients and they'll, like, you know, a month later or whatever, I'll be like talking through something with myself and I'll be like, why don't you just follow your own advice that you told your client? Like, just, you know, so it's easy to, like, it's not easy to self-coach. So I think that coaching is really good. And yeah, so that's what I kind of do other than that. And then I'm kind of building my first product right now. So I don't have it yet. Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll have it in time when this episode airs. And if so, I will put it in the show notes, everybody. I'll let you guys know. So if someone is, you know, listening to this right now, it's like, this might be something I want to do either on the side or as a full-time job. What kind of, like, as a starting point, or what kind of tips could you give them to, like, you know, test the waters or, you know, see if this is something that they want to do, you know, by doing, like, you know, an Etsy store or some kind of online business?
Sure. So I think the first step is really to just find out where your skills are. And we're all skilled in something, but I think we tend to think that we are not skilled in anything. Like, I know for the longest time I thought, I just don't have any unique skills. And, you know, there is definitely a skill set that you have that you bring to the table that nobody else in the world has. So find out what your skills are. And, you know, there are so many ways to do that, and I have a whole blog post about it, and there's like 10 ways that you can do it, but just, you know, asking friends or family members what they think your skills are, because they know you better than you know yourself, believe it or not.
Very
true. You think about it, you probably know your best friend's skills, and she probably doesn't. Right? Yeah. So even just asking your friends and family members, it's a great place to start to find out what your skills are, and then really just thinking about what you're interested in. And then that'll kind of help you find your topic of whatever you want to start in. So it doesn't have to be a blog, and it doesn't have to be like a YouTube channel or podcast or whatever. It could just be a product or like an Etsy store, but you're going to get, I mean, it's not going to be for you if you're not interested in it and if you're not good at it, right?
Yeah.
So we don't love anything until we're good at it, or we don't love anything that we're not good at. So knowing what your skills are and knowing what you're interested in are really just the first places to start. And then really thinking about the medium that you want to take. So Etsy is great. But if you're not a product person, if you can't think of a product to sell, then maybe just starting a blog or whatever it is, even if it's just a Instagram account. Like, there's so many people that have just, you know, have started side businesses on Instagram, posting travel photos or whatever it is. So just kind of try to think of the platform that you want to use to start building an audience, because no matter what you do, you have to have that audience. And then, so whatever way you choose, you can, I mean, I think it's really powerful to start a website. Even if you're starting an Etsy store, you probably want a website as well. So that,
and I think it's just a good skill set. And I could be biased because I work in digital marketing, so I love that kind of stuff. But I think it's just such a good skill set that our kind of generation needs to have. You need to have some web savvy, because I feel like no matter what you're going to do in the future, you're going to have to know how to do some of these website stuff. Like, really, if you don't know how to use WordPress, you should probably watch a video tutorial right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's like 500 million people or websites on WordPress.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's in like North America alone.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's huge. You have to know WordPress.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like start a website. You're going to need I mean, seriously, in all honesty, in 10 years, if you don't have a website, you're just going to be like, living under a rock. You need a website. Like, even if it's
Please
a
make
resume.
it mobile friendly, people.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? It drives me bonkers. Well, like, now there is like the whole mobile get in thing that happens. So your website legit has to be mobile friendly. Otherwise Google won't index it. But please don't do that. Please.
Don't mess around with people like that.
No, it just drives me bonkers. Okay, that's just a rant on my part anyway.
And that could just be a theme.
Yeah.
Just make sure that your theme is mobile friendly.
You can buy themes. Like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but from my blog, for the first, I guess, 2.5 years, I actually had my older sister, who is a really good web designer, design my site from scratch. And oh my God, I can't believe I actually she made a total website theme, but I was hosted on Tumblr. Terrible idea.
Oh.
I was literally too cheap to pay for hosting, so that's why we did that. Yeah. And then I switched to WordPress, and then she kind of rejigged some things. And then after that, I'm like, I kind of want to refresh it. And so I bought a theme for $50. $50, people. It really doesn't even cost. And for like a brand new website that makes, lets me do everything that I want. So it doesn't actually cost you. It won't have to cost you a lot of money to get a website up and running.
Totally. Like Bluehost, which is what I use, costs $65 a year.
Yeah.
Like
easy peasy.
how, and then another thing that I always say to people who are kind of like hesitating to spend that money, I'm like, you spent like $50,000 on your degree for a job that you do not even know whether you're going to like,
exactly,
or be good at, or even get a job, and you won't even spend $100 to start something that you know you're going to love,
or guaranteed you spend that much on coffee this
totally
per month.
Like
so you won't even notice that and it's true. It's like I bought several things for my blog and this podcast, and I haven't even noticed it in my budget. I'm like, oh, it's fine. I made up the money somehow, or I cut back somewhere. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that mostly people that complain about that stuff or that don't do it because of the money, that's just a procrastination tactic. It's an excuse.
For sure.
Because, I mean, frankly, it's in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of money.
It is. No.
You need to have a self-hosted website, regardless of whether or not it's a blog or resume, a portfolio, or whatever it is. You need to have one. So get on that train right away.
Totally.
And then if you are serious about it, I have a whole series about launching. Unsettle.org/launching or launch.
I'll include that in the show notes.
Yeah, include it in the show notes. I don't remember.
Easy to find. Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of do it the right way or whatever, but I just start somewhere. Just start. Like, that's all you got to do.
Just do it. I almost want to, and I think I'm going to include this in the show notes. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a video that's circulating with Shia LaBeouf. And oh my gosh, I'm going to send it to you. It is the funniest thing. It is the most motivational video ever. It's an art piece, and he's just yelling at you saying, do it, just do it. And you're like, I think I will.
I love it.
Sometimes you just need someone to yell at you and say, just do it.
Totally. And you need to kick yourself in the butt sometimes.
Yes.
So I recently actually started this project with my community where I'm like, you know what? I am not taking enough risks. And like all of your growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
So true.
Get out of your comfort zone. So I'm trying to encourage my community to do this, but I have to lead by example because I wouldn't be a good leader if I weren't. So I've started to take like these really uncomfortable risks every day where I'm like,
that sounds kind of terrible.
It's awful.
Uncomfortable risks.
No, so like not like
every day.
Yeah. So for the month of June, so I'm only 3 days in, but I'm writing down like these like really uncomfortable situations, but that will benefit me. So they're like,
not
growth
just random
opportunities.
Acts of randomness. Okay.
Totally. So like I would ask somebody like an influencer that had reached out to me before, like who has like a huge following, for instance. I asked him to send me an endorsement so I could use it as social proof. That was my today's, and I haven't heard back from him yet. So knock, knock on wood. Boop, boop. But
there's no wood around. So
no wood around. So yeah, let's pretend that was a wood sound. And then the first day I pitched a very popular podcaster to be an interviewer or interviewee on my show. And he said yes. So like the 2 previous days, it's been so good. So like you have to kick yourself in the butt.
You just have to do, you have to try. If you don't, and sometimes you think, oh, I can't ask that person because they're too, big or popular or whatever. Actually, they're most likely fine, because if it benefits them in some way, why wouldn't they want to do it? And like just as an example, like Josh does that a ton for his freelancing business. And he actually did something very similar. I think when we first moved to Toronto, didn't know anyone, so he had to grow his network and find new clients. Every day he would do something, kind of uncomfortable, and send out an email to someone that he didn't know and kind of being like, hey, do you want to meet for coffee so I can pick your brain? Or, I think you'd be really good for this, or blah, 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 blah. And, 2 years later, we're looking at his kind of network of clients and people he's worked with, or just friends in the industry, it's like, wow, it's grown. And I'm pretty sure most of those people, lots of them were connections from connections that he like emailed randomly when we moved to Toronto. So it's like, if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't be in the spot now where he has this big network of, clients to work with.
Totally.
So
and the
crazy.
worst they can say is no.
Exactly.
Right?
And then move on to the next person. They may say yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I my emails are always like, I'm so nervous when I send them and I'm like, oh my goodness.
I know, you reread them, you're like, oh my God.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I'll always say in it, like, just to kind of like save face. I'm always like, this is actually part of a project. So if you are, and then it just kind of like I think it makes people be like, oh, I kind of want to support her or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, reaching out to people who are like way above you. I had Jeff Goins on my show a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, and he's a huge influencer, like he has a huge following. He's a best-selling author.
Absolutely.
Like he's amazing. And he said to me, like, you just need to reach out to people because you never know, like those influencers that you think won't have any time for you, more than often than not, everyone thinks that. So they just don't.
Yeah,
like,
and so no one contacts them.
So nobody contacts them. So he's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so like the people that I've reached out to, I've gotten I'm sure that tons of people contact them. That's not the issue. But like if you're just genuine and you actually want to have a relationship with this person, and you're like, you're just like a nice, normal person.
Yeah,
they're going to be like, oh, sweet. And if you're not asking them for the moon, if you're asking them for like a quote about how they liked your work, then they'd be like, oh, sure, why not?
Exactly.
Like people are good. They want to support each other.
Yeah, as long as you're just not weird about it. Like, I get
don't be a freak.
Some of that, like the people that email me about like, hey, let's do this partnership or whatever, the people that I respond back to just seem like real legit people, and they'll always say like, this will benefit you in this manner. The people that I ignore immediately, or they'll just email me and be like, this is what we want. I'm like, okay, and like, what the hell? Why would I help you if you're not going to help me? Yeah, what's in it for me? Why would I just help you for no reason?
Totally.
So sometimes you just have to think about it from their perspective. If someone emailed you asking for something, what would you want in their email to you?
Exactly. Yeah. And probably just don't cold email them with a request for something.
No, I get this all the time. It drives me bonkers. Like, or they'll just start with a hi. And I'm like, my name is on my front page of my blog, guys.
When they're like, I blog at a personal finance blog called Suburban Finance, and I'll have people say, hi, Suburban Blogger. And I'm like, that's not my name. It's on the sidebar.
Well, yeah. Or it's like, there's most likely an about page or a contact page. Like, how long does it take, like, to find that? Like, just do your due diligence. What's wrong with you? I don't know.
It's absurd.
It drives me bonkers.
Riff raff.
Yeah. Totally. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I think I'm going to like go make an Etsy store right now.
Do it, Jess.
I think I actually did create one a while ago. I can't remember the name of it. I'm going to have to do something. It was for like sassy coasters or something. One day
That's
I'm going to make all the
amazing.
coasters. I just have to learn how to make them. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
If you'd like more information about this episode, find out some of the links that we talked about, make sure to check out the show notes at momoneymohouses.com/13. And one of the things that Sarah mentioned was website hosting. So if you're interested in starting your own website, from personal experience, go self-hosted right away. Don't try to find another way to do it. I did it and it was awful. So there's a lot of different hosts out there. I personally recommend one called Bluehost. And if you're interested, I do actually have an affiliate link in the show notes that will actually give you a special deal for a limited time. So you may want to check that out, momoneymohouses.com/13, or check out momoneymohouses.com/Bluehost. So thank you so